Okay, so this is the trigger mechanism, and the only thing I could think of was have it like that. So this is not hinge at all. It's just this is actually a spoke off a motorcycle. Quite good material spokes, quite strong. It's not spring steel, but it's quite good material. And the spoke in this, so that's nice and loose. So when that's fastened up there, that can hinge like that. So when you pull the trigger, it just pulls back. And when you wind it up, that's forced back into that position. Again, this is just made up from bits and pieces. The stock, that's the ferrule that holds the that's the ferrule that holds that. Now I don't want to take that out because it's pressed in tight. It should never come out. That's just pushed in. Now when I said earlier about this, you don't want that sticking proud at the end of the barrel, and I've made two of these before and they've had to be out there. The reason is that when that's in that position, it comes through to here, right? Now all this mechanism is inside here, so what you have to do is this is the part. Where's it gone? This part here. This part has got to fit like that. If you fit it vertically, which I did before, when you put this inside, it hits it. It hits the mechanism. So this has got to be put on at an handle like that. So the wheel is away from it. I've done that twice, and I've had to have it so this is stuck out, and that was the reason, is because when I made the other two, I put this vertically because it seemed logical, but then the wheel was in the wrong position and the whole thing was catching. So again, that's another kind of thing that you learn when you're doing them, that this is where the mechanism is, has got to be back, got to be handled back. Another difficult thing to make. This does drive you bonkers. This might sound easy, but you make a wheel, but then you've got to put a square in the centre of it to take the crankshaft. There's a crankshaft on it here. See, this fits like that. So you want a square on here. This is where your spanner goes to wind it up. But yet the wheel is round. So you've got to get a square hole, a square hole dead centre of a wheel, which on the face of it is like you just use a file, but this thing's got to be dead on. If this is a couple of thousandths out, as it rotates, it'll just jam. So it's got to be, not only has it got to be dead centre that way, it's not got to be that way either, that way or that way or that way or that way, or it'll just jam. It's got to be dead on. So what I did was, I just so happened I had a piece of square tubing. You can just see it there. Might be see it there better. You can see this inside here is a pair of square tubing, and it just so happened it was the right size. I don't know what it was off, cut it off something. So what I did was I put the square tubing in the lathe and I turned the corners off here. Put a hole in the centre of the wheel, turned this as near enough round as I could get it, press fitted it into the wheel, because you've got a round hole and you've got a reasonably round tube, pressed it in, and then I pinned it there and there, and I also tack welded it. So you can see the pins there. I half drilled into it, half drilled the wheel, pressed some pins in, and I actually spot welded it as well there. So it's in forever, that it'll never come out. So that's the way I overcome that. But the only other way I could think of doing it was drill a hole in it and then try and file it square, which the likelihood of me doing that was like nil. This is the hole that takes the rocker. So when this is in the fully up position, when you've wound it up and this is the spring tension is on it, this rocker fits into that hole like that. Okay, and because this rocker once it's moved from into that position, it's jammed at this side. It can't move until you pull the trigger, and that jams this. Now that big wheel spring is trying to move this, trying to force this up. It's trying to ramp out. Let's get this right now. Got this right way around. That's it. It's like that. When you wind it up, this trigger then flicks into that hole like that. Now this is under, you've tensioned this up into that position, so this spring is trying to pull this back this way. But that surface there is acting on that ramp. The idea is when you release this side of this trigger with the trigger sear, it releases that, and then this can come out slightly like that, just enough to get onto that ramp, and then the spring forces it out like that. Now if this trigger spring here is too strong, it's acting as a brake on there, so you got a brake effect. So you don't want that trigger spring that's acting there, which is this one. If that's too strong, if this spring here is pushing that too much, that acts as a brake at the back of that wheel. So what happens is that you pull the trigger there. That allows this part to come that way. It doesn't. It's not that moves it. What moves it is the ramping effect of that ramp against that hole. That's what does it like that. Now you see how deep that hole is. There's hardly anything there. And when it's in the up position and you hear the click, it's the click is that going in, and then it's jammed. The whole thing is jammed, and that to get that to work is really difficult. Really difficult. Okay, so that's most of the mechanism. The only thing left is the pommel at the back, which is just a piece of this turned down to that shape, which is held in by a screw at the back. I'm not taking that out. And the stock was a piece of walnut I bought off eBay, just a big block of walnut, quite expensive, quite expensive. I paid 100 quid for a piece of walnut. This is half of it, so this is 50 quid worth of timber here. And then you've got to start cutting it out. I mean, there's hardly anything left by the time you've finished. The trigger hole, the hole for the mounting, for the screw to go through the back. This is a difficult thing to make. What I did with this was, I started off with a full block. It was twice the thickness of this, and I drilled a hole down the centre, and then I cut it in half, cut the top off, to get that shape. I've since bought a routing tool that'll do that. So if I do another one, I'll do it with a router. But I didn't have the router then, I just did it with a drill. I just got a 5/8 drill on a long, welded a tube to it, and I drilled it down there, and then I cut the top off to get the half round. I did all this with a router. You need a router to do that, because by the time you've cut this thing, there's hardly anything left. There's hardly anything there. It's very thin. You've got to be very careful when you're doing it. So that's about it. The whole thing is in bits. I used 2 screwdrivers. I used that one, and I used that one, basically because this one's a little bit too wide at the blade. I could probably make 1 screwdriver to do the 2, and I've used a pair of pliers just to pull a couple of pins out. So there you go, that's it. Hope you enjoy it. It's going to be about 1.5 hours of video. Okay, thank you.